Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of adfartech Venture podcast. And I'm the host of the show, Sonal Shah. And today we have a truly remarkable guest with us. That is Iain White, a seasoned technology leader with over 30 years of experience. And Iain has worn many hats throughout his illustrious career, from a software engineer to a CTO, IT consultant, technology manager, agile coach, and mentor. His expertise spans leadership development, agile technology, IT governance, software development, and digital transformations. So today we are very much thrilled to have him with us today to discuss tech leadership, future of technology, and various other tech trends things. So thank you for joining us, Jan, and we are really very grateful to have you today with us. And thank you for joining this podcast.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to give back to the community and help spread tech leadership knowledge.
That's just your wonderful and humble nature, Ian. So, Ian, before we proceed further, I would like to also give some brief introductions about my organization. So, will you be okay with if I take somewhere around 1 or 2 minutes to just discuss a brief about my organization?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you so much, Ian. So, this is a podcast bring by adfartech Venture. And if I say something about the adfartech Venture is, we are IT and tech platform with the focus on different kinds of IT solutions, IT resources, and IT recruitments. And nowadays, we are doing also these kinds of a tech audio podcast, and it's going a huge. So, we have a vendor alliances with the 50 plus tech partners. It includes SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, then Pega, OutSystem, APN, Salesforce, Cloudera, Informatica, and many more too. And when I say about the key solutions, it includes ERP, then application development, data, AIML, blockchain, cloud, managed services, then UX, UI testing, and cybersecurity. And if I say about the recruitments or resources, so we have a resources basis of 2,000 plus resources all across the spheres. So which we can deliver both on site and offshore within the 24 hours. So that's the major skills which we have globally. And with this podcast, we love the views of visionary tech leaders, and we like to share about their journey. We like to know about their views on latest tech trend innovations and other invaluable insights with what they have learned from their journey. So similar way, we are also super impressed with your LinkedIn bio, and so wanted to share that with you also. So and this podcast has been created, and this is all about the adfartech Venture, and I hope you will also enjoy this journey with us about the sharing and caring of knowledge. So this is all about me and my organizations, and again, thank you so much for joining this podcast. Before we proceed further, I would like to also ask or listen our audience about the today's episode. That dear audience, this is the adfartech Venture podcast, and today we have a very special guest, Iain White. So we request all of you to listen this episode very carefully to connect with him. And again, thank you so much for connecting with us, for joining this podcast and listening this podcast with your interest and curiosity. Thank you, audience. So, Ian, I hope you are enjoying the conversations, and if you are okay, shall we proceed for the question and answer?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Ian. So, Ian, before we proceed further and the formal question and answer, I would like to ask you your introductions in your work, that how you have reached to this, versatile level and this industry top at your journey. So, could you please brief us about your journey in your words so we can know you better from your experiences?
My journey has been one of starting out as a software developer. Back in the day, I worked on mainframe computers, and then I got into doing websites, then web apps, and then mobile apps. But I always ended up being the type of person running the meetings, being the team lead or the department lead, and I kind of found my niche in more the management side rather than the actual writing code side of it. And I got onto the leadership track. I became a certified Scrum Master and really embraced Agile, Scrum, XP, and Kanban, and just kind of put together a toolkit around the various processes and got into project management, got into leadership growth. Found there was a disconnect between technology and business. Took the vision that technology needs to line up with the business goals and be able to talk business to the board and talk tech to the techies has kind of been my mantra for the last couple of years. And I've just kind of specialized in doing training for tech leaders to make them more all round. I say my journey has been one of continual learning or continual development in myself. And I got to the position where I was Chief Technology Officer, and now I'm an independent consultant, just giving back to the tech community. I do mentoring for software developers, project managers, and I run a leadership program to try and get the best out of people.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Iain. So you have just not passed one to another level, but it's very fascinating to hear how you have involved and evolved with the different kinds of technology and various innovative projects throughout your career. So it's really very inspiring. So Iain, can you share us with what are the technologies that you are currently utilizing in your project at presently? And other thing is, how has these technologies been pivotal in your recent work?
Yeah, got a fairly exciting project underway just now, which is a application that is running on AWS infrastructure. I've been using Amazon Web Services for quite a while, but this is my first venture into using Dockerized containers and Fargate as the mechanism. So normally you develop a web app, you will put it onto a web server, which on Amazon is an EC2 instance. But this application, we go straight from the GitHub repository, we build it into a Docker container, and then we put that Docker container onto Amazon Fargate, and we then set up the static side of the application from an Amazon S3 bucket. And it's just nice to use the technology in this way. I've done some work with Azure and Google Cloud as well, but I keep falling back to AWS. I think that's majority of the time I've spent with it. And I write everything as infrastructure as code. I use Terraform as my development language. And for people listening to this and not familiar with that, infrastructure as code is what it sounds like. It means that you have a repository like you would for your application code, and it is actually all the command. So if we look at an EC2 instance, you will have a command to say, spin up an EC2 instance, put Apache on it, put PHP on it, set up these user permissions, and then serve a website from it. And it's all done within script. And therefore, if we need another server, we throw that one away and we spin up a new server, and we have all the requirements in the Git repository.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you have used almost all of the technologies and very innovations in your, acceptance of the technology. So I think your approach as, leveraging with these different technology is truly fascinating as well as inspiring to, learn something extraordinary from you. So thank you, Ian, for this wonderful response. So Ian, as a tech leader with the wealth of experience, what are the core principles you believe are essential for effective leaderships in the IT sector? Well, you have worked with almost all the industries, all the technologies.
I think the big thing is you need to communicate. Communication is king in the industry. Um, the old days, and can I show my age here a bit, of the tech department is just a cost to the company. Oh, we need so many computers. We need to spend money on Microsoft licensing. The tech brands of the company needs to be there to support the business. They need to know the business goal, where the business is heading, the long-term plan. They need to add value at every step. And that can only be done by asking the question, talking to your manager, or if you are a manager, talking to the CEO or CTO, and find out how you can best serve the goals of the company, where they're heading to, both in the short term and the long term. But the higher up the management level you get, the more important it is to align your vision with the vision of the company. It's the old story that you can build the world's best bit of software, but if nobody's using it, doesn't work out. You can build the world's best bit of software, but if it's not what your company needs at this moment in time, the company's not going to really benefit from it. And I think a lot of the time when I've been dealing with boards of directors, getting that buy-in, their confidence level that we as a technology division, department, team are supporting them in their growth. And it comes down to time and money, as most projects do. And they go, there is an investment here. It is worth investing in the technology team because they are delivering what we want.
That's wonderful. That's, the principles that you are sharing is like, in some of with the majorly it's communication with the transparency, the collaborations. So I think it's,
Yeah.
very vital in today's tech industry and tech environment also. And the way you have significantly contributed to this, um, uh, the way I say that transparency and communications that are components. So it's definitely contributes to your success as well as the people who are following you. So very wonderful and very great leadership roles that you have played. And Ian, I have also seen that you have led many digital transformation initiatives also. So, can you walk us through a particular any kind of a challenging project that you have worked on and how you have successfully, implemented and navigated throughout the project?
Yeah, certainly. So I've done a few digital transformations. I'll answer fairly generically, but first thing is to look at industry requirements. What legalization government requirements are in place for the industry that you're working in? And as I said about talking to the board of directors, what are the long-term goals? What is the plan for it? Then the next stage I come up with is a risk matrix. Bit early on in the process for that, but I want to get the buy-in from the company owner that what we're doing is actually feasible. So I come up with all the things that possibly might go wrong or more likely actually cost us additional money. One thing that I find that most companies that want to get into technology don't consider is the getting out of technology. I did have one transformation, I won't name the company, but they went with a white label subscription process, and then they decided to get out of the technology area, close down the applications. And I went, well, you have paying clients on subscription, so we need to engage the exit strategy. It was simple. We sent out notifications to the clients. We came up with a alternative vendor with a similar, not as good solution, and we carried on for 12 months of keeping the lights on with the system, keeping it up and running. But these are the type of things that non-technical leaders don't consider is things like what will happen if we do not proceed with it. But the main thing with digital transformation is the paperwork, writing the documents, the whole process and control. If I'm setting up a help desk, ticketing system, service desk, I will use the Intel framework to put this in place. I will create the appropriate documentation for that and get the buy-in from the board, and then I'll start to develop a rollout plan. I normally create a lot of documents in the first couple of weeks of the process, and once that has actually been accepted by upper management, it's fairly easy to actually roll out the process. Some digital transformations is really just a question of making sure that you're ticking the boxes with doing security audits, penetration testing, that you've got backup plans, that you've got all the critical systems managed or controlled, logged, that you're actually looking after the patching of the systems. And it's fairly simple once you actually go through the process. But I would say the big thing is getting that buy-in up front, because a lot of non-technical company owners, they go with the whole fact that I will buy something and that's it. I'll purchase a computer. It will run forever with no need for updates. I will outsource a bit of software, and once that MVP arrives, that will just run forever. So a large part of the, I guess, the eye-opening side I do with clients is this is how much it's going to cost on a monthly basis. This is how much the infrastructure cost. This is how much your developers. This is the projected how many iterations you'll need to do to get the software into production. But this is the ongoing maintenance cost of monitoring it and putting in fixes and updates. Every client I've ever had has turned around and said, I don't want any changes, and then hit me with 10, 20 changes within the first month. So it's life. I mean, people don't know. They don't know what they want until they've seen it, which is why Scrum is so good with its short iterations and having actual usable software at the end of each sprint. But yeah, to make sure that buy-in, that you're not selling them the idea that, yes, it's only going to cost you 10 grand, it'll be delivered in 2 months, and that's it. It'll work forever, because we know computers just do things. Everything decays, everything gets a little slower, everything gets a little bit more complicated. Databases get very large, and we look into scalability. And what I normally do is I give 3 options. I give the whole, this is the best scenario. This is enterprise. If you were Google or IBM, this is everything that you would do. And they go, well, that's long and expensive. And I go, well, this is the bare minimum we can do, but this is all the disadvantages. As I said, the risk matrix comes to here and say, well, this is it's not going to really work with more than 100 people using it, but it's the cheapest option. And then I give the middle ground. I give the compromises, and people are a lot happier to go the whole, well, I don't want to spend a fortune on it. I'm not Google or IBM, and I don't want something that's going to break after 12 months. So I'll go with the middle ground.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's amazing story. So I think I have not heard such a complexity in this, software projects and achieving the results. That is also a very commendable job. So your expertise in this digital transformations is really, testing your all the kinds of operations and then implementing it. So it's wonderful, wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing the best story still to time. So, I think with this transformation, one thing I noticed that is collaborations, communications, and everything what we had observed throughout your each and every responses. So one point is mentorship. So that I had also observed, significant part of your career. So how do you approach mentoring young professionals, and what advice do you like to give to those aspiring or the people who are just entering this tech field?
Yeah, I've had a fair bit of experience with, as I always say, junior, don't like the label, but junior developer. In a previous company, we had a system that we called the intern bench, using the metaphor from the football where the subs sit on the bench until they get on the playing field. And I went around some universities and graduates, well, people in the graduation year, and basically did an interview with them, got them used to the job market by doing an interview, but more they interviewed us what we could offer them. And the intern bench was a question of bringing the students in, giving them experience in certain areas. Now, mostly we're looking at software developer, so we'd have a bit of front end type work, a little bit of back end work, and a little bit of business analyst, system analyst work, architectural design, and a bit of quality, and a bit of DevOps, where they're looking after the infrastructures that we have in place. And we rotate around the various areas, and everybody worked in one area for a minimum of 1 week. And then after they've worked in every area, then they get to pick where they want to work. So they get exposure to different working environments, but then they get to focus on the main thing that they enjoy. And some people went into it. I had one lady, she came in, she was decided that she was more a graphic designer than a software developer. And we also had a digital marketing division, so transferred it over to digital marketing so she could do their adverts for them. So it gives them exposure of the job, and I think that's very important that we don't put people into boxes and you're just a developer and forget about testing or DevOps or the other areas. The other thing is everything is a potential learning moment. I drive my team mad with that's a good learning moment, because if I stumble over something, or if an event happens, if the Zoom meeting goes down, if the CEO bursts in with an urgent task, I will deal with it as I deal with it. And then afterwards, I will sit back and go, well, this is a good learning moment. This is how you handle the upset CEO. This is how you deal with the technology. You pass around the phone and things like that if you're in like or that. And I just try to do the whole, I guess, the war stories. I've been quite a few decades in the industry, so I've normally got a story to tell. People love stories. If you just tell people what to do, yeah, they might listen, they might do it. If you tell people about something cool that happened to you, and honestly, there's nothing gets a young developer fired up more than realizing that the senior person in the room has made mistakes, because that gives them the freedom to work hard, to experiment, and know that they're not failing if they get things wrong. They're learning because they're making things wrong. And be able to go back and say, oh, I once brought down an entire email server for this company. It really does make them feel empowered to do that. I do a lot of mentoring, both in work and outside. I try to always be understanding, emotionally connected with them. There is no right way to do it. You've got to listen to the person, understand where they're at, what they're trying to achieve. It's a question of all the time looking for that opportunity to add value to the situation. I feel as a leader, part of the job is to grow new leaders and to basically get that over to anybody in the room at any time, whether you're doing a software review, sprint planning, whatever the meeting, there's an opportunity for you to add some knowledge from your personal background and to just give them more. If somebody's just sitting in a room, zoomed out, we're on a Teams meeting, we're doing the sprint planning, they feel, I'm a junior, I've only been here for 2 days, I don't understand what's happening. They're not going to be engaged, they're not going to be learning. You've got to give them a voice. You've got to turn around and ask for their opinion. You've got to encourage people to think. You've got to encourage people to give ideas, and you've just got to be open to it. Nothing lights up somebody's face better than walking out of a meeting where the entire team is going to action the idea they came up with.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful and really inspiring approach that you have shared, Iain. So I think the personalized guidance that you are leading with 101 or understanding the, the basic nature of a human being about, being adaptable to the situations and understanding that nature, you are making your nature to nurture the future leaders is a very much motivating thing for me as well as to my audience also. So thank you so much for this wonderful approach, Iain. So Iain, actually, I was about to ask you my next questions about, the different agile methodologies, but this answer has given me all my answers and it is ahead of agile. So it's a really wonderful approach you have shared. So my next question is, I'm just keeping and adding on to this answer. In your opinion, what are the essential skills you look for when recruiting the new team members? And as we all know that technology is, every day evolving with something new changes and, updations with the innovations. So how do you ensure your team is, staying ahead of all the changes and learns the different skills in very few amount of a time?
Yes, no, really good question. Obviously, there's a certain skill level that you're looking for when you're doing a hire. Experience in a particular programming language for a developer is good, but I'm more looking for ability to learn and ability to problem solve. If you've got 2 or 3 programming languages under your belt that you're fluent with actually programming in, you can pick up another programming language quite quickly. I've never seen any kind of programming language that I've looked at and gone, oh, that is something that somebody can't migrate to. Yes, there's different ways of actually doing it, functional programming, procedural programming, but generally speaking, a reasonable to good quality software developer can program in any language given a small ramp-up time. It's the ability to solve problems, the ability to think on your feet, to be able to look at how to actually solve the technology problems that are coming up. That's kind of a given. If you've got to the interview stage, I've looked at your resume, I already feel confident that you've got the hard skills to actually do the job. It's the soft skills that are the difference maker. The ability to learn, we've mentioned it before, continual learning is important. So how somebody learn, how they do the research, if faced with a new programming language or the need for an algorithm or an obscure browser bug, how would they go down tracking it down? What books do they read? From software development, books go out of date very quickly, but from methodologies, ways of working, how do they do their learning, and how will they embrace the team? I always look at team fit as part of the hiring process. There's no point in hiring the best of the best of the best prima donna developer if they are going to cause problems with the team. The team needs to accept the new person, and the new person needs to add to the team. And that may involve bringing in other team members during the interview process, but generally it's a question of how the person comes over, how they have emotional intelligence and answering their questions. They are questions about the team and the dynamics. If they have a background in a particular methodology, like Scrum, I will ask them problems they've had with the Scrum framework, anything they don't like doing with Scrum, how they would deal with problems that came up. Really depending on their background, what I've actually seen on the LinkedIn profile or the CV, I might ask them particular questions about how they would deal with scenarios that aren't particularly good. A team member not delivering, or a bill going wrong at a bad time, or having to work additional hours. It happens in this industry. You do occasionally need to work out of normal office hours. And just trying to judge from their reaction, how they handle it, their body language, how they come over. These are the main things I'm looking for during the interview. And I just think it's also a very good time to get it out there. Is done a lot of interviews, and for people being interviewed, you don't have to be perfect. I will always take into account that you're nervous, that you're thinking about 101 other things, you're trying to come up with the best answer. There is no best answer. There's just your answer. And all I'm looking for is that you are able to give me a conversation. And if the answer is, I've never used that before, or I don't know about that, that is totally acceptable. But if you word it in such a way as that sounds really good, I have to look into it because I don't know about that subject, then it shows me that you're engaged, you're keen, and you're learning.
Very wonderful, very wonderful. And I think these are the indeed essential skills, Iain. So yeah, if the people are open to learn, and mainly the adaptable to set into the system, it says, strong foundations for organization as well as for their own growth also. So very admiring response you have given, Iain. Thank you so much. So Iain, I am looking for the next and last questions of this conversations. So what are the some exciting future projects or the technologies you have planned to work with? And how do you see these innovations shaping the IT landscape?
Yeah, so I've been doing some work with IoT, the Internet of Things, with remote sensors to do with shipping container ships, and just the amount of information coming back from the remote sensors is overwhelming. And as we know, everything is AI now. So I'm looking at an LLM that will actually look at smoothing out the data. The IoT sensors provide so much data that it's overwhelming. It can't really be charted in such a way that it's human readable. So I'm looking at bringing in artificial intelligence to actually look for deviations to, first of all, remove any particular highs or lows, and almost certainly transmission errors, because we're actually using the 5G network to actually get the data from the sensors. So first of all, because smoothing out that data result, but then doing some AI processing to actually get trends and prediction, so that we're not looking at a million various data points. We're looking at 100 data points and getting a reasonable chart of what's actually happening with the system. I really feel that what we see now with AI is really clever, really good quality, but it's just going to get better. But we need to make sure we're training the models on AI correctly. And that kind of brings me to next slide, which is cybersecurity. We need to make sure that we are putting the data into silos, that we own the data, that the data is not escaping through the AI model, and that we actually have proper cyber hygiene in place with the system, particularly with the IoT. To a certain degree, these devices spew out data to the world. We have to be careful about what we're actually allowing people outside of the company to see. And I'm just doing some work with some security professionals on how we can make sure that the data is retained more. And an idea, and this is only an idea at this stage, is having blockchain to actually not encrypt the information, but give us that distributed ledger so that we can actually verify that data coming in is actually the data that we expected, that it hasn't been tampered with like man in the middle type attack, or things have been forced or changed. More a conceptual idea at the moment, but I think AI and blockchain, we're going to see massive changes in the future. It's going to become kind of built into a lot of technology, that we're going to have it built into our apps, things like Microsoft's Copilot. It's already starting to do that with AI, that basically we will no longer be a bolt-on or an add-on. It'll be part of the system we're developing. And I'm really looking forward to see what the future brings.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful and very exciting things you are sharing. I know the potentials of this blockchain, then IoT, and then AI is really going to revolutionize the IT landscape, and it's really immense, opportunities they are creating. And definitely with you also, I can't wait to see you, how this project will shape the future of technology. That's very incredible. So now we have, gone through so many exciting updates with your versatile knowledge and experience. Now, if you permit me for a 3 to 4 minutes more, I would like to make this session more interesting for our listeners with the rapid fire questions also. This is something surprising to, my guest, also like you too. But I would like to, create some of these rapid fire questions, and would like to have your answers to on 1 or 2 words only.
Yeah, sure.
That's great. Thank you so much. So, Iain, if you are ready, I will start my questions, and there will be 10 questions. And for each questions, you have to answer in a 1 or 2 words. Is it okay?
Yes, okay.
Great, great. So thank you. And I will start with my first one. What's your favorite programming language?
PHP.
Okay. And which tech trend do you think will dominate the next decades?
AI.
Wow. What's the biggest challenge you have faced as a tech leader?
Lack of communication.
Okay. What's the one quality every tech leader must have?
Continual learning.
Scrum or Kanban? Which do you prefer?
Scrum.
And what's your go-to productivity tool?
Sorry, can you repeat?
What's your go-to productivity tool? Which tool do you prefer to have a higher productivity?
Jira.
Okay. And can you name a tech book that has significantly influenced your career?
The AWS user group.
Okay. And if I ask you, what's been the highlight of your career so far, what it would be?
Dealing with the interns.
And what's one bold predictions you have for the future of technology?
I'm still hopeful that we'll get some more visualization.
Great, interesting. And if I ask you what's the best piece of advice you would like to give to aspiring tech leaders in a one line only, then what it would be?
Listen, learn.
Great, great, great. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Iain, for wonderful answers, and for each and every responses you have given the wonderful answer. So thank you, Iain, and it's really been enlightening conversations. And so I'm sure your listeners, my listeners, and everyone will definitely gain a lot from it. So thank you so much, Ian, for joining this podcast. And I hope you have also enjoyed the discussions with us. So thank you so much for joining this podcast. And really, I had also enjoyed the discussions and the way you are, approaching this industry.
Thank you. It's been very enjoyable.
Thank you so much. So, dear audience, now this podcast is going to, raise its curtains, and we are closing it. But if you want to like to know about more with Ian and learn more about his work, be sure to follow him on his LinkedIn account. And if you would like to know about what are the future guests we are approaching, what will be the new tech trends with the industry tech leaders, just don't forget to subscribe to adfartech Venture for more inspiring episodes with the industry leaders. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time. Till the next episode, you can hear different leaders from our YouTube episode channels. So thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for joining this podcast.